Alright, so we got the cam in here, we got it broke in, got it idling pretty good. Really pepped it up quite a bit. I really couldn't believe how much this cam pepped it up. So, which I mean, with the other cam all lobes wore out and it's missing on at least 2 cylinders. Yeah, it's a big improvement. But that's what we're looking at. Really happy with what we got going on here. Have a broke motor mount or 2. A little bit at a time, right? This sure is running a lot better. Alright, so several folks have inquired about the El Camino, and this is what we have. Unfortunately, all the pieces of cam that come apart, I didn't see anything in the oil, but there was stuff in the oil, and it got the oil pump and lock the oil pump up. So we have a pretty scuffed up crank. And this crank has already turned 20 on the rods. So, and the mains got scored too. No bearings turned. But it got scuffed up pretty good. So, instead of going with a reman crank, we decided to go with a Eagle cast steel crank. So we got that. We got Clevite 77 rod and main bearings. We got a Mellon oil pump and pickup and a set of Felpro gaskets. And so we're gonna refreshing this engine now. So what I'm going to do today is pull the crank out of this thing and get it washed up so I can reassemble it and get this thing put back in the El Camino. So that's what we're doing today. Things happen. I mean, when I drained the oil out this engine, I did not see any trash in it, you know, when I swapped the cam out. And it was running good, lots of power and everything. And like I said, then I was driving down the road actually going to show off to my son, and it didn't lock up. I heard a change in the noise. I don't have an oil pressure gauge in this thing, unfortunately, but I heard the change in the sound. So I pulled off as quick as I could, and so I limited the damage. Like I said, no rod bearings turned, no main bearings turned. So we're gonna clean it up really good, get all the pieces of cam and lifter trash out of here, and then we're gonna reassemble with this brand new crank and bearings and get her stuck back together. So that's where we're at right now. Like I said, this engine was fresh. It's got brand new pistons in it, and also we're not gonna have any problems with that. So with the fresh crank in here, and of course our new camshaft, we shouldn't have any issues at all. So that's what's going on, and we're gonna get it together. Alright, so we got this block all cleaned up, and took and pressure washed it and blew out all the oil passages and all that. So now we're gonna get to reassembling this thing, put it back together and get ready to go back in the El Camino. I think it's gonna be fine. Like I said, we blew out all the passages really well, so I really don't suspect having any issues now. So we'll lay the crank in and show you as we go. Alright, so we got the cam lubed up and got it back in the block, and we've got the main bearings in. I'm going to grab this rear main oil seal out of this Velcro gasket set and go ahead and get it in there so we can lay this crank. Y'all hang on and we'll show you. Alright, so we got the rear main oil seal in, and we got it offset to keep it off the parting line so it won't leak. So we'll put some sealant on the edges here before we put the cap on to make sure that everything's good. And then we've got some assembly lube here. We're going to lube up all the bearings real good. So that we can make sure everything's good and slick before the first crank up. Alright, we thoroughly washed this crank and blew it off, and now we got the bearings all lubed up, so we're going to set the crank in the block now. Alright, we got the crank in the block, and we'll get our main caps, get the bearings in them, get everything lubed up good, and then we'll get the caps on. Alright, we got the main caps on, and we're going to get ready to torque this thing down. Alright, so we got the keyways in for the crank gear and the harmonic balancer, and we're getting ready to put the pistons back in this thing, so y'all hang tight. I'm going to show you as we get them in there. I like to just use some 3/8 fuel line on the rod bolts to keep them from nicking up the crank. So, little tip. Alright, so we're halfway done here. We got 4 rods in here, and we're going to pop the other 4 in there, and then we'll be done with the short block, and then we'll be ready to put the pan and all this stuff on there. So we coming together, and we're getting it. Alright, so we got the short block together, got the timing chain on, and we're ready to put the front cover on. So getting there really quickly.